Well, for more on this, our reporter Virginia Langerberg spoke to former federal prosecutor Neama Rahmani about the legalities of deploying the National Guard and serving Marines to Los Angeles under these circumstances.
Firstly, let's talk about the Trump administration's deployment of the National Guard. Some are calling it an abuse of power. Others say it's up to the president's discretion. Is this within Donald Trump's powers or an overreach?
Virginia, I'm sitting here in downtown Los Angeles. Fortunately, I'm safe. And I've been critical of Donald Trump and what he's done that has been unlawful or downright unconstitutional. But this is well within his powers. Under Title 10, he can federalize the National Guard, which are typically under the state governor's control, if he believes there's a rebellion or if he needs it to enforce federal law, which is what he's doing here.
Okay, and Donald Trump has said that Los Angeles is being, quote, invaded and occupied by illegal aliens, and he's called the protesters insurrectionists. Is all of this language deliberate to justify his deployment of the National Guard and now hundreds of active Marines?
Well, Virginia, I think that's more political rhetoric than anything. Obviously, there are protests and riots here, but it's certainly far from invasion. The question is, though, is a judge going to step in and question the executive's power here? What really makes this case unique is the president is mobilizing the National Guard over Governor's Gavin Newsom's objection. It's not something that you typically see. Normally there's a natural disaster or there's civil unrest and the governor and president are in sync.
Is it important in this case to make the distinction that some of the protesters are not American citizens in terms of the actions we're seeing from the Trump administration?
Well, we're talking about immigration law, which is historically exclusively something that the federal government does. And that makes sense. You can't have the states enacting their own immigration laws. And in fact, in a state like California, it has the Values Act, which actually prohibits local police officers and sheriff's deputies from enforcing immigration law.
And the Californian governor, as you mentioned, has said that the state will be suing the Trump administration over the deployment of the National Guard without the governor's request. Does Governor Newsom have a strong legal case, and will it make any difference in the short term?
I don't think he does, Virginia. I think it's probably going to lose because, again, this is something that's a federal government issue exclusively, and they have the right to pool resources to enforce federal law.
If Donald Trump invokes insurrection laws, is there any limitation to what he can do?
It would really be up to a court to say that the invocation of the Insurrection Act is unwarranted. Now, there are people even in Trump's cabinet that are loath to bring in active duty military for civilian immigration enforcement. There can be a political backlash. I don't think we're anywhere near an insurrection that would require the use of the Insurrection Act. And by the time the courts actually waded through all this, it would probably be too late, frankly.